Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel, everyone. I hope you guys are having a good time. This is a new thing that me and Mandalorian are gonna try and set up for the channel, and it is a little bit of something that's a member exclusive content. So currently I do believe that, well, the base idea is that only members can access the chat and the stream is listed only for members. I will also post the stream's link to Patreon exclusively. And with that, basically only Patreon members and only YouTube members should have access to the stream. So this is meant to be kind of like a bit more chill time, a bit more chill discussion time in general about the channel, things that are happening in Marvel Contest of Champions, and basically it's just a chance for me to show some appreciation to my channel members specifically and provide some exclusive content for them. So let's say hello to Mandalorian first and foremost.
How's it going, everybody? Happy to be here.
What's up, FYL? Welcome to the chat, by the way. And in this stream we'll not really be interacting that much with the question part. It's kind of like me and Mandalorian just gonna be going through some topics, gonna just have a conversation about Marvel Contest of Champions, and hopefully you find it interesting enough and it works for you. It's meant to be just a relatively nice thing for my members, basically.
Yeah, just kind of a nice way. Plus, we can give our undivided attention to some of the topics that people ask all the time during the streams. Some of the things that are probably brought up sporadically, but also just kind of a way to give our bounce back of opinions without being on a time constraint. Because sometimes I think these questions can go on a longer conversation, but at the same time, you want to give everybody opportunity to kind of kind of get their views in and questions and stuff. So this just gives another avenue to kind of give more deeper dives into those things. But yeah, we got some good things today. So some topics that KT and I would like to discuss. We're going to talk about, firstly, we're going to talk about the new champions for November. We should give our thoughts on that. What are our expectations? Because today, if you're watching this day it goes live, is Immortal Abomination's pre-sale, like, you know, what do they call it, pre-release, where you can buy the early access bundles. Talk about that. Talk about Cyber Weekend deals. Talk about a little bit about Act 7 coming next month, and then the Daredevil Netflix buff, and then anything else we can think about. So that's kind of where we're going for. So KT, you want to kick it off? What about what do you want to talk about with the new champs? You want to start with?
Well, we're gonna start with the one that we kind of have in the game already, and then we have had some testing done and stuff like that. So we're gonna start with Immortal Hulk. So tell me, assume you do have at least the 3-star, or do you have any Immortal Hulk version at all for yourself? Have you played about with him?
Oh yeah, they gave everybody a 2-star, so I have the 2-star, and I've played with him a little bit because I have him max rank, you know, as a 2-star. It's like I see what they were trying to do with the character. Like they wanted him to be like this high damage, kind of suicide friendly, like able to like do a bunch of crazy stuff. You're constantly fighting with your health. You're building up your gamma. You know, you're trying to. I understand the mechanic they were going for, but it's like they focused on the mechanic of making him immortal. And said, okay, we're going to make him where when he would die, he's going to be just basically unable to die. He can take hits. He can take damage. He's unblockable, so it's good for that burst. And then he's going to come back, and it's going to have a cooldown, and he can do it again in a longer fight. But then they didn't really do much else with the character. They didn't think about all the other things about, okay, what about how does he get his damage ramped up quickly? How do you rotate the specials the best? You know, I don't feel like they really did that. But that's kind of what now granted, I'm limited with just the 2-star, but that's kind of what I felt about it. What about you?
Well, I have had the 4-star and I do have the 3-star now maxed out, so I did play about with him a bit more, and I'm currently in arena grinding for him as well. And the problem for me with the Hulk is because he does have a risky playstyle. First thing, if he was, like, let's say, amazingly, insanely useful, he still runs a very risky playstyle where he, by design, drops down to 1% HP, right? So it means that pretty much any longer matchup where opponent has any projectile specials that you cannot fully dex, you can't use him automatically. Because if you drop down to 1, your immortality is in cooldown, you can't go, right? And so there are these inherent risks with his playstyle. Especially because he's effectively unusable in Alliance War. That's it. You just cannot bring him in for Alliance War. Because if his immortality doesn't trigger, because it is an ability and assassins reduce your ability accuracy, you're toast. Right? So I think a character like that, who demands you to go such an extreme as to destroy your own health pool frequently, and to the very bottom, would required to have an immense kind of like upside, and he just doesn't have. His damage isn't bad, it's definitely decent, what fun questing champion, whatever, but it's not out there, right? His utility is way below average. And so you have this Hulk that kind of functions like Hulk. There's some healing, there's some bursty damage and stuff like that, but he just has too little to offer for far too much to risk and sacrifice, because you effectively sacrifice your own health bar, you sacrifice your like safety, your cushions, whatever. You have to play on like pins and needles with him often and stuff. So there are definite ways how to make that character, quote unquote, let's say, worth it, right? One would be to significantly increase the ease it is to upkeep his rage mechanic, right? If that rage cooldown would be significantly longer, done, right? So if you basically build him up and he could maintain the damage for the entire fight, that would be some insane amount of damage that you could potentially put out. Some like cosmic Ghost Rider levels of damage, right? Then he could potentially be worth it. Or if he had like a ton of different utility, But he doesn't. He's very kind of like plain in sense of what he does. He's like poison immune character and blah 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 whatever. Okay, his damage doesn't rely on debuffs, but you rely on that parry stun to ramp him up, so he still needs to have a ability to debuff the opponents and stuff. So
I kind of feel like what they should have done is with the persistent charges, it would have been, and tell me what you think about this. If they would have made it where if you trigger the immortality the fight before, then the next fight, so like maybe you don't get the full, benefit the first fight. He's kind of like a ramp up champion. The next fight, like he instantly starts with that just insane rage damage and keeps it the entire fight and has the ability to carry it over again if he triggers the immortality. Like I figure like that would be, he may be a wet noodle in the first fight, like, nothing special. But if you can keep it up where he keeps triggering the immortality every fight, then he heals back before the fight's over, and then you're just insane damage every other fight, as long as you triggered that. I think that could have made him a better character. What do you think?
I do think that would be like very exciting, as in like this character that's going to deal insane amount of damage and like burst down, but if you do not die kind of like in a fight, then you have to build him up again. I think another very simple thing that could work very well is just cut down his immortality cooldown to like 25 seconds from 50 seconds. Or
oh my god.
It's just so long.
It's so long.
I think even that in itself would help him immensely. It wouldn't be enough, but I think just like practically, as in like not reinventing the wheel and his ability set, looking at what he has right now, it's a good thing that they pause their rage when opponents are using special attacks. I think he definitely needs like a taunt or some sort of other ability to either force opponent to be super aggressive or not to let them get to level 3. Because if you lose the momentum, you lose all damage. That's one thing. So he would need longer rage expiry, in my opinion. Some sort of taunt or some sort of other mechanic that allows him to be aggressive and significantly reduced cooldown. And I think then he would be kind of like, quite high risk, high reward character that can like blitz through a lot of things. But putting him right next to Cosmic Ghost Rider, who hits insanely harder, who is significantly tankier, significantly easier to use, significantly more utility, and he's nothing really. Like why would you want him?
And it's like what we were talking about before he was released, that we hoped they would actually make a Hulk worthy of the Hulk name, like a really strong. And it failed again. It's like, why have another dud Hulk in the game that looks almost exactly like the OG one, except for his face looks a little meaner, and he has some glowing green gamma veins. Oh, so nice.
No,
his pants
are
a little darker.
Those veins are quite cool, but I do feel quite frustrated because many people were frustrated when he was announced, saying that like we don't need another Hulk and Abomination. If anything, just buff the old ones and give us new interesting characters. And I was still quite excited because I do like Hulk in comics and Hulk as a character and stuff like that, and I thought like finally maybe we're gonna have a good Hulk, and no, they have, in my opinion, pretty much completely wasted a champion slot.
I think the best 3 Hulks of the game, in order, in my opinion, would be She-Hulk number 1, Red Hulk number 2, Gladiator Hulk probably number 3, just because he has the ability to negate a lot of the damage over time in the face me mode, and that's but
and then this one.
This loser. Come on, this guy had so much potential. I think if you look at it as, going back to a little bit what I was saying before, that mechanic of if he dies, why couldn't his rage be built like Nick Fury, where it cannot, like it has non-expiring rage for the rest of the fight, or
if you have triggered immortality or something.
Why did you have to do where he still is a limp character? He's literally, I'm sorry, this is the best way I could describe it. He's a Hulk that took a Viagra, but it failed right as it was time to do the deed. That's kind of what it feels like to me. It's like it got all I just got a huge boulder.
It's a Hulk who
ready to go.
It's a Hulk who can potentially occasionally smash, but he doesn't smash.
Yeah, he's like, I'm ready to smash, but wait, I'm sorry, it just cooled down. And with the way that the opponent AI, it's just the way the mechanic AI is, that it doesn't want to throw specials once it gets like 2 bars of power.
Also super annoying is that with this short cooldown timer, if you miss the parry,
Oh yeah.
You expire the rage. It's only even if you re-parry straight after, there's literally the difference of like a split tenth of a second where if I do not miss the first parry and I do the re-parry, it's still not quick enough for me to keep the rage up. But okay, anyways, let's not brood over this sad waste sack of a green mass. Let's talk about the new one that's just come out to early access bundles and CC reviews and stuff like that. So we do have the Immortal Abomination. What are your first impressions from the limited amount of information you have seen?
Well, I think he has the potential to be not a miss. Like, if anything, he's a beautiful character. I mean, in just
Don't call
the
him
grotesque.
beautiful, though. He's definitely not beautiful.
No,
he might be many things, but he's not beautiful.
He's beautiful in his grotesqueness. I mean, just the fact that they made such an ugly looking character. I mean, that's what there's a sense of beauty in that, in my opinion. However, I will say that it appears that he has the potential to be the better of the two champions this month. He is going to be useful if he can do poison really well and easily, to be a really good alternative for a lot of these acid wash nodes that we see in higher level content in map 7. I think he would be amazing. Maybe the what do you call it, the diss track nodes, being able to apply multiple debuffs on a character. I think he could be great. The thing I'm worried about is that when we get him into action, he's going to fall short, kind of like how Immortal Hulk has been, where he has the potential to do great, but there's only certain circumstances and it's possible that we do not see it as often as we need it to be viable. But I don't know. I'm hoping I'm wrong. I want to go for him in Arena even, because I can't afford the early access bundles, but I need to see more data on his actual play style before I can make a decision. I just think I have more hope in him than I do in a more.
I actually checked out some CCP videos as well and stuff, because weirdly we have the deep dives delayed, so we didn't really get those. But I checked out the CCP stuff, and from what I can see, well, first of all, yes, he will have quite solid poison damage for sure. It's not quite as high as you'd initially expect from the poison itself, but he does have things that nobody really kind of like spoke about, and he has like a quite high ramp up potential for long fights. The thing that worries me is that he is in fact like an absolute noodle for first 20 odd hits up until you get your first level 2 off. The first level 2 is like 100% essential, and that quite often is like a huge difference from a character being viable and character just being, by character being great and good for a job, and character just being all right potential. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what's the best way? It's kind of like Corvus accesses his damage immediately, and he's great for so much stuff. And then we have, I don't know, Katmal movie version, where just the fact itself that she has that ramp up fight and ramp up time before she can access huge burst damage, you cannot use her everywhere, because the whole point is you go in and you nuke the fight. It's kind of like a champion that I think he could relatively be comparable to is Archangel, right? Archangel looks at you need to bleed and poison opponent. But the thing about Archangel is 1-2 heavy attacks and you're well on your way to do a lot of damage, right? So you drop 2 heavies or 3 heavies max, and you're typically there. You're typically doing a lot of damage, and you shut down opponent's abilities and all that stuff. With Immortal Abomination,
the thing is, like, you're saying you have to get that special too. Okay, let's put it in the situations where it's kind of like some bad things can happen. Let's put it as where the opponent can all of a sudden, like, maybe there's a limited stun or whatnot, and they can block that special too. Well, that whole build up to it is gonna be wasted, wouldn't it? Because it has to hit, doesn't it? Doesn't the special 2 have to hit?
I don't think it does, to be honest. But
okay. Well, that's better then.
But again, what's the best? Like, the way I look at it, there are so many nodes that mess with your ability to use powers. Like, I don't know, special luck ones, plagued minds, power alternators,
right?
Blast, whatever we had in Act 6, and how they're called.
Well, You know what's coming to mind to me is you play any of the epic buffs on any maps, but especially with map 7, if you have Turn the Tide as the daily one, where it randomly
Yeah, for instance, that would
between,
immediately be quite tricky to untide. There's a lot of these.
That would be so annoying.
Yeah, and there are a lot, and he has kind of like all of that potential kind of like locked behind that level 2, and without that level 2, it really takes ages to do any meaningful damage. So that I immediately dislike. Now I obviously do think he will have relatively decent uses here and there. I do think he's going to be a decent poison option, decent acid wash option, stuff like that. But I do think he's going to be significantly more limited than many counterparts. Like I said, just Archangel, for instance, how quickly he accesses those bleeds and poisons, and how quickly he gets going, and he doesn't need to throw a single special attack if he can't, right?
Oh,
so that
no, not at
immediately
all.
adds that extra level of utility there.
Yeah, I mean, like, as someone who does run map 7 epic modifiers and does an acid wash path on 2 of my sections on one variation, I can't see me bringing in an Immortal Abomination over a Dr. Voodoo or even a Black Widow Clairvoyant or even friggin' like King Groot or Original Abomination, like or Mysterio. Any of those I would take over him then if I have to build him to a special 2, because there's so many options where I can't do that, or I have to throw a special, or I have to do damage relatively quickly, and sometimes that's not viable, you know? That's a long time to ramp up.
Yeah, so that alone kind of like, I did see like a longer fight where obviously he does, the upside is, he does have like a legit decent damage ramp up to a point where in the longer fights he can put on like 15k tick, kind of like poison damage and stuff like that. So there are like very redeeming qualities to the character, but at the same time, don't expect too much. He's obviously going to be better than Immortal Hulk, as far as I can tell. I think.
Well, I mean,
he will have his uses.
I was just gonna say, unfortunately, it doesn't take much to be better than Immortal Hulk, honestly.
Yeah, I know. And but
that's sad.
The way I look at the character now has in a way quite significantly diminished now that I know exactly how reliant he is on that level 2. Now I know exactly how little damage he does without his poisons and anything else, just like as a base champion.
Yeah.
Now that I know the situations where kind of like he's likely to be the champion to shine, and there aren't many, like, my hope for him was that he's going to be something similar to, let's say, a pseudo Archangel, and he's going to be something that's not good for everything, but if you can poison the opponent, then there's hardly a better option. You know what I mean? Like Archangel's one of those champions where if you can bleed and poison the opponent, Archangel's one of your go-to guys vast majority of the time, or can be one of your go-to guys. And I hoped if the case is similar for him.
Exactly, yeah. I'm still mad in my own head about Archangel not being viable for an acid wash path because they don't count that neurotoxin as poison, but that's just me.
Well, you can actually still use him because you can still keep poisons active, and then you do actual damage. I have used Archangel for neurotoxin path. Sorry, for acid wash.
Acid wash, yeah. I know it's possible. It's just at the same time you want that neurotoxin because it does so much damage and just plus it stuns when it expires.
Yeah, I know, but it's
just frustrating.
The way I use Archangel for acid wash is just I purposely don't always throw the heavy attack. I just parry a few extra times to make sure the poison's there.
Yeah, you parry. You don't throw the special.
Like I get a couple of neuros going. I drop a heavy to make sure I have some bleeds, and then I just parry for a while. And those neuros do so much damage that they tick out anyways. Like, but yeah, anyways, in regards to this guy, I must be honest, I have lessened my interest in him. I still think he's going to be a relatively good champion. I think he's a decent addition. I wouldn't mind grabbing him. I won't go nuts for him. I don't think he's like a must-have or anything like that. He doesn't have that much in terms of utility. And I mean, like, shutting down healing, but that's a fairly common thing.
Yeah, I mean, you can do it with some of the characters now. Human Torch being one of them, Void.
Yeah, I kind of hoped for a bit more. Because in case you have noticed, the vast majority of the champions that are living at the top of the tables typically have ability to access all of their potential extremely rapidly. Like Ghost, you start the fight phasing, you can often finish within like a couple of crits, right? And you get your level 2 quickly and you do a lot of damage on the way there. Corvus, again, you start the fight, you just crit. Omega Red, especially with Suicides, has a big damaging start if you manage to like lock in your spores and you have like this big burst. And then Quake flat out just does as much damage as you will ever do. And even Nick Fury, if you start to fight in your second like life, right, you have that massive Fury active and just finish a combo with a light hit and you have a massive lead.
Just compare him to the last champion released last month, Ghost Rider, Cosmic Ghost Rider. He has like a very little ramp up, but he can start doing damage.
Basically two combos, and you can get that level 2 off and stuff like that. And therefore, I think that any champion that has I think that has to work quite hard in order to access that potentially great damage potential is just not quite able to compete in case of like Mysterio. Mysterio can hit really hard, but nobody thinks of Mysterio as hard hitter because it's behind the level 3. Like Vision Arcus, most of his damage is behind the level 3 after you have dropped the level 2. Then you have Namor, right? Namor can hit incredibly hard, but you do have to get to those level 3s. Stuff like that. And it's a similar case. Okay, it's not level 3, level 2 is better, but that's only the start of you starting to do damage. So I don't think he's gonna be quite for me, the champion, like is in my preferred playstyle.
Yeah, I this unfortunately hearing more about him that I didn't even get to know, it makes me feel like he's not the kind of champion I was looking for either. But who knows? I mean, maybe I'll get him from a featured or something like a few months down the road, and I'll enjoy playing him, but maybe he won't be like for what I thought he was. Maybe there's going to be content in Act 7, which we'll talk about a little bit later, that maybe he could shine in. I don't know. There's a lot of things we just don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, these are just initial thoughts, speculations, impressions, opinions.
Yeah. And I mean, we look at, and I'm going to throw back to one of your most recent videos about Silver Surfer. When he was released, he looked like a dud. And I have always been a champion of Silver Surfer. I always thought he was more than just prestige. His rotation, it's a little tricky to get used to, but once you do, I mean, it's just, he actually makes it fun to play the champion. That's what I like about him. And he can finish the fight relatively quickly, without going on a tangent here. But I mean, but we see more use for him now. Like your most recent video talked about that in depth. Maybe we'll start seeing that with some of these champions, with what they have planned.
I do think that there will inevitably come kind of like content that's geared towards 2020 champions, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
We're gonna see content where probably, I don't know, sources, region on block give some sort of massive benefit or something like.
I feel like while that's nice, at the same time, I want to be able to use my champion now. What's to entice me to want to get this champion now to put money in Kabam's pocket to buy their crystals or grind their arena and whatnot? What's going to keep me playing the game is exciting new champions that not only look cool, because I'll be honest, all the animations look really good for all the new champions. Always, even the dud ones look really cool.
For sure.
It's just the fact that if I can't use them right now, why am I going to spend all that time and money as a player? If I'm one of these whales, I'm going to do it anyway. But if I'm someone who doesn't spend a ton of money, but I like to buy, feature crystals, cav crystals, whatever, I'm not going to do that if the champion's not going to be something I can use right away. I'll wait till he's in the free featured crystals and try and go for him, or hell, even the basic, because I don't need that champion right now. By the time I may need him, he's going to be able to be pulled easily somewhere else without spending extra money. So
I think this is one kind of like good thing about this game, where it has kind of like moved away from 100% must-have champion and you absolutely have to get it, to it's good, it's nice to have it, but you don't have to get mandatory. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we have this year, I don't think we have had a single champion come out that's kind of like an absolute must-have. Like previously,
you're right.
Like there haven't been any champions like Quake, like Ghost, like Aegon, like Horus this year, anything at all. All of the champions that have come out this year, maybe with possible exception of Magneto rework, are kind of like nice, cool, helpful, has their uses, whatever. But you have alternatives to what they can do, and it's not a must-have. It's good to get them, but you're not going to suffer heavily for not having them.
it's hard coming off 2019 whenever you release the Abyss and 3 of the 4 Horsemen all came out in 2019. Come on, that's
yeah, and it's not
weren't they
just
all
that.
out in
Even
2019?
looking
Yeah.
back at it when the game was smaller, we had situations where basically, if you don't have OG Thor, you can't fight X, or you're gonna struggle very hard.
Oh,
If you don't have Max Sig Black Widow, you can't deal with that, and you just cannot, because there were no alternatives, there were no other options that were even remotely as viable. And now the game has grown so much that typically anything they come up with, there are other alternatives, there are other options. And that, in exchange, makes these new champions somewhat less valuable or less mandatory, in a sense.
Right. No, I completely agree with you there. It's I mean, I guess it's better because the average player can now feel like they're not going to be
Gated
screwed
by
over
a
if
single
they can't get
champion.
a champion.
And I do think it's better as well. I think it's healthier. But okay, now we have to move on to Cyber Weekend deals. I actually just dropped a video where I kind of explained like what we saw on July 4th, because typically, historically, we can kind of predict more or less what we're gonna get, because we look at the previous one. Basically, we have 2 great days of sales. We have the Cyber Weekend or Cyber Monday, and then we also have the July 4th, where both of those are exactly the same in schedule and in value and in amount you can buy, where basically all of the unipacks get extra stuff and a lot of it, and then you have like these caches or bundles or whatever. And every half a year you obviously see an upgrade. But this year I think it is a lot harder to actually speculate because of the Thronebreaker title, because we haven't had a single offer specifically targeting Thronebreakers.
Yeah.
And
I think when we started seeing last year, because I want to say the first time we saw progression based wasn't it Cyber Weekend deals on last year when they first had the Cavalier have a better one than Uncollected?
I think it has been like year or year and a half. But
I don't think
it's
July
quite
4th
obvious that we're gonna see it again.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the first time we saw it, I want to say July 4th last year, they didn't have that. They only did like Uncollected and Cavalier got the same thing. But then, because I remember that was a big deal, I think when November came around and they had the Cyber Weekend, they ended up doing it all weekend. Uncollected players felt like they got shafted because they got worse things than they got July 4th, whereas Cavalier players got better things than they got July 4th, which is what you always want to see. You want to see whatever's offered to you. You get at least everything you got before, if not better, always. And then hopefully you're progressing your account, so you not only get what you got last time and based on your progression, but you got more. Or if you're already the highest, then you get better than what you ever got before.
Well, again, here is the point where I worry, right?
Yeah.
My point of worry this year is because Kabam can approach this in 2 ways. The most baseline, let's say, projection number 1 is Cavalier level players got these deals. I'm currently showing some of the screenshots and stuff like that in front of me, and they got like that 6-star Nexus with all Father's Audience and stuff like that. So that's basically what they already got in the previous one.
Correct.
And you'd naturally be well within your right and well within reason to expect for this time Cavalier level players to expect something better. However, there is also a significant factor to keep in consideration, that previously Cavalier level was the highest progression tier,
Correct.
And now it isn't anymore. And so it might as well very well be the case that Cavalier level players actually see something relatively same, or possibly even slightly worse.
I really don't think they'll go the worst route, and here's my reasoning for thinking.
But I don't think it's going to be significantly better for Cavaliers.
No, I think you're going to get exactly what you got July 4th. That's my opinion. I think you're going to get if you're a Cavalier, you didn't get the Thronebreaker, everything you got July 4th, you're getting exactly the same thing, 100%. I don't think anything's going to change, really.
I do think they need to jazz it up a tiny bit, though.
I think they should.
I think they will probably do rest of the items relatively similar, but up the quantities of TF5cc catalysts. I think everything else is going to be more or less the same. To give them,
yes.
Because TF5cc has deteriorated in value significantly between then and now.
Oh, definitely. I could see them maybe adding that to more of the unit deals, the higher unit deals, or maybe even the Odins.
Here, in front of me, like with Odin's Vault, we actually only got 15% TF5 class catalyst crystal in that Odin's deal, right? I think it could very well easily be 25 or 30% crystal, or maybe a 25% selector.
I was gonna say, I don't think we've ever seen a 30% crystal. I think they've had, like, not that they've introduced it yet, because when it comes to the T5cc crystals, we've got a 2%, a 5%, a 10%, a 25%, and a 50%.
We have had a 20% one as well, and we have had...
Did we have a 20?
Yeah, I think we have. Maybe.
Okay, maybe then I could be wrong, but the ones that I see most commonly are 2, 5...
They can anyways make whichever one they want.
They can. I'm just going based on... I'm just going based on historical data. Yeah. Historical data, we see 2, 5, 10, 25, and 50. Those are the 5 that we've seen the most of, and which is kind of weird because remember when they first started coming out, when we thought 2%, we were like, are they, honestly, are they fucking kidding? 2%? Are you kidding me? But obviously that was the lowest that they were ever planning to give us. They were going to have more. I think that's why you see so many levels, but I could see them doing like a 30% or a 33% or something like that if they want to. But I think, like last year, you have in front of you the Odin from last year. How much did we get? 15%?
15%, yes.
And it was 1 crystal, or was it 3?
It's 1 crystal, 15%. So you could buy it 3 times, so you could get a total of 45% there.
So, okay, so you could get 3 crystals of 15% each. So you see, that's an odd one. So they could do, because you don't see 15% ever except for these deals. My guess is they probably could do a 30. They would boost it to 30%.
I think they would boost it to 30 for Cavaliers.
Because think about it, if you do 30% for Cavalier players,
or 25% selector.
Yeah, well, I don't think they'll do selector for Cavalier. I'm sorry, I don't think they'll do it for the unit offers. They may do it. I mean, I'm sorry, they won't do it for the cash offers. The unit offers, maybe the very high tier.
I think there will be some sort of selector definitely there, because it's well within their interest for them to push those Cavalier players who are able to whale out
to get to Thronebreaker. You think? Because if they push them to Thronebreaker now, they can buy all the Cavalier deals and then immediately turn around and whale out and get the...
Yes, I think that's also going to be a thing this year, where if you do progress to the next level, you get deals refresh. So I think it's either way, that thing works or it doesn't, but in general, I think it's well within their best interest to push as many people over the line with Cavalier level deals to Thronebreaker. And with that, I do think that we're effectively going to see some sort of combination of a guarantee of a decent champion within like some specific form of Nexus crystals. I think we're going to see an upgrade on Nexus crystals. Either they're going to be class specific, or they're going to be pick 1 out of 5, or pick 1 out of 10, or something like that.
Well,
or
and
then there's going to be a way to rank up that champion.
Oh, yeah, I said that on a stream a couple days ago, and granted, someone said it in a stream I wasn't part of earlier that morning, but I stand by it. There will be. And if I'm wrong, I'll do something special. I don't know what. But if I'm wrong, I will do something. Maybe we'll let the Patreons and the YouTube members decide what my penalty is. But my prediction is that in the Odin offer for Thronebreaker, you will have a Nexus Cavalier, a Nexus 6-star crystal. And that Nexus 6-star crystal will allow you to pick a certain class. So in other words, it may only give you 3 still. It may give you 5. I'm not going based on that. I'm just saying the bare minimum they're going to give us as a Thronebreaker Odin deal is a Nexus crystal where you can pick which class you're going for. So in other words, if I'm looking for Dr.
So you're basically saying it's going to be like that selector thing where you select 1 out of 6 classes. And then open a crystal. I really
think it's going to be that. And I think it's smart if they do it that way. I think it'd be smart if they did it for Cavalier players also, because Cavalier players could have the opportunity to also get the Thronebreaker title by getting a class they're targeting for that. But I think it's going to be for Thronebreaker for sure, because you're going to have people looking for Doom, Silver Surfer, maybe the new Gambit, maybe Sunspot, maybe whoever. And they're going to want a better chance at getting those champions. And just having a Nexus is still not enough when you have 141 champions in the basic pool of 6 stars, and half of those are trash. Yeah. I mean, that's the honest truth.
And okay,
So-
and then there's obviously the one second.
Unit?
Then there's obviously the Grandmaster ones. Sorry, not Grandmaster,
Grandmaster.
Thronebreaker ones.
Right.
Where I do think for Thronebreakers we're gonna see flat out like 50% most likely with the audience packs, and I think at some level we're also gonna see a fully formed class catalyst crystal.
I would love that. Trust me.
I think I added it up, and I think in July 4th in total, if you purchased everything.
July 4th?
Yeah, like if you purchased the audience packs, everything else, you got like a fully formed Tier 5 class catalyst crystal. I think this time it's gonna be 2.5 or 3 Tier 5 class catalyst crystals, because I think that would be a fair representation of how much they have deteriorated in value. Because think about it, back then we weren't getting 10% every AQ. That's changed since. Back then we weren't getting 30% in between Cavalier level difficulty event quest, side event quest, and some special milestone. Right? So
get a lot more access.
And a lot less from everything. So basically at this point we already earn about a Tier 5 class catalyst crystal a month if you play like all of the Cavalier AQ, side event quest, AQ, map 7 modifiers, epic level, decently in war, stuff like that. You basically earn already about a Tier 5 class catalyst or more than that a month. So I don't think offering just like 1 or 1.5 in those offers total would be enticing enough to kind of like make many people who wouldn't spend money otherwise spend it. I think it will have to be around 3 total Tier 5 class catalyst removals. Whether they come in form of 25% crystals and 50% crystals, or some selectors sprinkled in, or some fully formed crystal. I'm not entirely sure how they're going to split it down, but I think in total we're going to see about 3 Tier 5 class catalyst crystals for Thronebreakers.
That would be beautiful, in my opinion. I think that if they did that, I think we're going to see a lot of prestige jumps in the high line.
Oh yeah, that's guaranteed, because
that.
Also we haven't had any decent 6-star signature stone offers, and they have gotten either worse or remained exactly the same as they were like half a year ago or a year ago, and only good offers for signature stones so far have really been just these July 4th ones. So I do think that we're going to see a lot of signature stones, a lot of catalysts, and a huge prestige jump on overall.
That would be really nice, honest truth. Wow. I'm a little worried because the alliance I'm in right now is barely hitting top 45, and they've got a lot of free-to-play players, and I'm worried that if we don't see a huge jump in my alliance, that we're going to fall in the top 90 easily. And even if we increase our prestige, I think we're going to have to increase the alliance prestige like 700 minimum, but that's going to be based around these deals. But I don't know. I think it's enticing. I think we're going to see some really good deals for Thronebreakers. I think we're going to see the best deals we've ever seen in the game.
Of course, that's always the case. Every July 4th, every Cyber Friday, we see the best deals we have seen today.
Which is insane. I mean, if you think back to 2 years ago, we thought we were getting insane deals back then. Now we look at it, it's like, oh my God, I was paying that much for, just to have a 5-star, 10,000 5-star shards in an Odin, but now I'm getting a 6-star Nexus. Or in this case, it could be a 6-star Nexus class base. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I guess. We'll
by the way, speaking about prestige, I didn't tell you. Well, I hadn't a chance to tell you. I opened the $5 daily deal thing, today, this morning. Just randomly, because I do generally have not a problem with crystals, but you do have the urge, right? I know it's a very bad thing, but I have worked out in my head that if I will do some random crystal of popping, right? The best way for me to do it is just stick to the one and stick to the daily deal card, because it's $5, it's cheap, relatively, it's half the price, effectively, that you would pay for a featured cow, and you get all that extra stuff, which isn't amazing, but it's something, right?
Right.
You get like some 6-star shots, you get some other fragments and stuff.
I think T2A and fragments.
Tier 5 basic frags and Tier 4 class catalyst fragments 9000, which is also quite important because I'm struggling with Tier 4 class catalyst crystals. Anyways, I'm telling it too long. So today was the mutant daily thing,
Right.
And mutant one is typically the one that I try to open. I try to open mutant and skill dailies out of all of them, because I need
Okay.
help in those classes.
Makes sense.
And guess what I pulled today?
6-star Sunspot.
No.
Oh, what'd you pull?
Hmm?
What?
I managed to dupe my 6-star Namor.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Because
So-
I've been waiting to dupe him for a long time. Great.
So that also
what's that?
pretty much completes all my quote-unquote mandatory prestige necessities. I have rank 3 I have a Thor Ragnarok duped, which is gonna go to rank 3 for prestige reasons. And
Okay.
I have Namor duped now, which is also gonna go to rank 3 for prestige reasons, as I didn't have any high prestige mutant previously duped. And these are the champions I'm gonna invest all my signature stones in. And then I'll Namor, Thor Ragnarok, alongside Doctor Doom and Silver Surfer, pretty much complete my kind of like prestige rank ups, also including like Sig 200 Warlock. He's not quite as high as the rest of them, but he's Sig 200, so.
Yeah, that's wow. So what is his sig gonna be? Say that one again.
My Namor, well, he's Sig
Yeah.
20 now. I do have 56 signature levels to give him right now, and obviously we do expect some more in Cyber Weekend. So I can take him
Sure.
to Sig 76 now at the moment, which is decent.
Oh my
And then I plan
gosh.
on like getting a decent Sig up on him quite early on. I will try to obviously Sig him up quicker than I do Thor. Because if I go to my prestige champs, then Doctor Doom is nearly there-ish. He's Sig 165, so he only needs like 35. But I mean, no real rush to give them to him at the moment.
True.
Silver Surfer
True.
is only Sig 77, so he needs quite a bit of work put on. But I think I will prioritize my generics to Namor first, to max out Namor, because he needs that max Sig the most. And then I'm gonna move on to giving Sigs to Silver Surfer. Then I'm gonna move on to giving Sigs to Thor, Doctor Doom or Thor Ragnarok, whichever. And what's up, Harriet? Welcome to the chat.
That's I can't see the chat, guys. By the
Yeah,
way,
I know.
just
Yeah,
quick-
Mando is unable to access this stream because it's only for members.
I'm surprised you can't give me access as a mod, but I'm just saying.
I will try to find that one out.
We'll figure it out. But the truth is, this is more of like a podcast where we are trying. We're not even sure if we're going to keep doing it this way. We're just testing different things out. But right now, YouTube members can see this first live as we're going through it. Patreons and YouTube members will be able to see it. Or are YouTube members still going to be able to see it post-mortem?
Yes,
as a
there
link?
will be, I think. Quite sure
There you
there will
go.
be.
So yeah. So we kind of went off on a tangent because we were talking about champions and stuff. But Cyber Weekend deals is what we were just finishing up talking about. Now, one thing I did want to say, and I kind of mentioned this, and when we were going to talk about this, was the free-to-play players. A lot of these free-to-play players have been saving their units up, or are still grinding as we speak, the arena and other ways, the different difficulties and daily events and all that. What would you suggest to the common free-to-play player? Let's say they are Cavalier. Let's say that they'll say they are Thronebreaker, or they're about to be Cavalier, or they're Uncollected. What would you say is the number one amount of units they should be shooting for by the time a week and a half hits and we have Cyber Weekend deals?
Well, I think the set route is always 15k. Anything past 15k is kind of like an optional extra that's not even that good amount of value per unit. 15k
Right.
is the set amount that Kabam has scheduled at, and which always has remained 15k. Recently they have started adding 3000 or 6000 after that, but it really doesn't offer too much of a value out of what you would see in a
Right.
normal everyday offer. So 15k is like the gold trademark to go for, and if you're obviously 15k is a lot, and 5000 I think is also a reasonable amount. Obviously you're gonna miss out on that huge pack, but I still think that 1000 and 4000 unit packs have quite phenomenal amount of value compared to what you get normally every day. And if you will use units to purchase offers, then there are 2 times to do that in a year typically, which is July 4th and Cyber Weekend. And the correct answer is 15,000, but 5,000 as a minimum.
Yeah, 5,000 is the minimum, I think, and that's a good minimum to say because, again, it comes down to like how much are you actually going to be able to purchase and such like that. But you want to get as most as you can, because these deals don't come around but twice a year. And honest truth is, I mean, yes, we did get them back in what was it, July, but we're going to be waiting another 8 months before we can get it again, you know. So it's going to be interesting. I'm really excited. I'm thinking that it's going to be a lot of good stuff we're going to see coming from it. I think it's going to be a lot of spicy things to entice people, that is, to try and get their wallets open, so to speak. But I think that we're going to see some good stuff.
Yeah, I'm very, very, very hopeful as well. Right, so past that, last thing...
7.
Huh? Yeah, Act 7. So last thing that I do want to kind of like touch upon.
Sorry. And
just check up on you. Well, are you first of all excited about Act 7? How far are you with Act 6?
I mean, I'm going through I've already done completion of Act 6. I'm going through now, and I'm actually starting with 6.3 to do 100%. Then I'll probably do 6.4, 6.1, and then I may actually go 6.1 first. I don't know. But right now I've been doing 6.3. And I find that one was like easier than 6.2 in my opinion. 6.4 I think was even easier than 6.3. I'm finding it, it's easy. I mean, it's just time consuming. I think that's the hardest thing, is it's just time consuming. I've got all the right counters. I've got plenty of videos that I've watched. I've watched you do the rerun since they reworked it. So I'm at the point where I'm just exploring Act 6 at my leisure when I'm not doing the monthly events and stuff like that. I've already 100% all the variants except for variant 1, which I've been working on. So I'm ready for Act 7. I am totally ready for Act 7. I will do an initial completion of it shortly after it releases, most likely.
Yeah, I plan on having the first chapter explored within a week, latest, after it.
Nice. Okay.
I'm gonna get in there day one, and I'm gonna keep bashing at it till it's done.
Nice.
But yeah, so from what I have heard, there's going to be some sort of... Well, I think Act 7 is also going to push a quite big symbolic shift in the game. So I'm going to pop up that Dev Diary reschedule and Act 6 update, whatever, not too important. But I do think that this Book 2, Chapter 1, Act 7, effectively, I do think it's going to mark down like an official start of complete meta transition into 6 stars, because I think at that piece of content in particular, it's going to be better to bring in a 6-star rank 1 than a maxed out 5-star, because of that huge attack boost that they are rumored to have. And that's going to mean quite a lot of priorities and perception of champions is going to change. And 5 stars, to be 100% clear, and again, I don't want to come from a very kind of like arrogant position, to me personally, have already kind of like shifted to what used to be 4 stars. I'm not excited for 5-star crystal openings anymore, or in any case, I get the new 5-star. It doesn't really do it for me
tickle
anymore.
Your fancy.
It doesn't really do. It's nice. It's a new champion. It's nice that I can rank it up to a level where it's still viable. But at the back of my mind, I immediately think it's not the 6-star. Half a year ago, 8 months ago, I was often happier in getting a 5-star. Like when Namor came out, for instance. I pulled the 6-star Namor and I wasn't happy because I knew I'm not going to dupe him forever. I knew I'm not going to rank him up forever. I needed the 5-star in order to be able to use the champion properly. Now, that is not so much anymore. Now you always look at that 6-star. And we have Tony in the stream as well. What's up? This is a members exclusive. We're not really going to be chatting too much with the people,
I can't even
but
see
you
the
guys
chat,
can
guys,
see,
so.
And it's only you can see, so you guys have an exclusive access to this.
That is correct, Amundo. But yeah, I think we're going to start seeing a tonal shift when it comes down to what's happening with Act 7. I think we're going to stop seeing, million plus PI ratings. We're not going to see you take a block hit instead of a parry and you lose half your health. I think we're past those days, thank goodness.
Yeah, I think Kabam has learned a lesson. I think blocking is still going to be very much an option.
Yeah, I think that should be an option. It should.
Yeah, it really should.
But I'm thinking we're going to see more. I think we're going to see more of the fun things we liked in Act 5. Like I remember having more fun in Act 5 than
I do hope for as well. And one of the things that I still absolutely hate about Act 6, for me, and again, from a selfish perspective here, I can't really go in Act 6 and test anything, because everything's so specific. You need to have, like, when a new champion comes out, you need to find 3 lanes, and that's not easy. 3 lanes where he's good for, and you can't use him for any else. Like, you know what I mean? In Act 5, you can take a champion and jobs are good and just go and do stuff, right? And by that, I don't mean I necessarily want Act 7 to be easy, but I want it to be open-based, much more than anything. I want nodes that are challenging, can be punishing, whatever, but aren't overly restrictive to a sense like you need to use one of these 10 champions if you want to do this path, kind of thing.
Yeah, it needs to be more inclusive. It really needs to shine with the 6 stars. Like if you have a 6-star Angela, your Cavalier monthly event quest is really fun whenever you're doing the chapter that helps with Cosmics, because she becomes insane. And that's what I would like to see. I want to see more of that. Hopefully we will.
Yeah, me too. And overall, I must say that I am cautiously optimistic that Kabam has learned a lesson, but at the same point, I am slightly worried that Kabam is not creating any challenging content at all anymore. Let's face it, Variant 5 is relatively easy. I got it done itemless, right? And outside of that, we haven't had anything that could actually force an item out of me outside of Abyss. And that's why, and I have had all of these items expiring, stuff like that, and that's also what I don't really want to happen. I want there to be some hard content. Granted, I don't necessarily think Act has to be that place. I do wish Kabam created something else that's really, really hard, but at the same time, I just want to make sure that there is the quote-unquote fun component that's meant for majority of the player base who are progressing in that level. And then there is that you masochistic, sadistic bastard, here is going to be your punishment kind of thing. And
it felt like that's what they were going for a while. With Act 6, when I started,
that's what they did.
It was like, you should be grateful to be progressing in this game. Anything we give you, you should kiss our feet.
And I think Act 6 had like that big problem with just being mean, menacing content, like Acid Wash Mysterious, do you bleed rogues, no retreats left and right, no retreat champion, and crap like that, right?
It was just very, it was almost like you could feel Kabam's designers' disdain for the community.
Yeah, exactly. You could feel how they just worked with an idea of kind of like, screw you guys, or this is gonna get you. Kind of, you could feel the maliciousness of that piece of content.
Yeah.
And that's
it literally
not
felt
in the case
like we were being punished.
Yeah. And that's not quite the case with the rest of the content in the game, pretty much. And I do want a content like that.
I do.
And to be fair, I do think there is a place for a content like Act 6. I do think that there has to be a content that is set to kind of like punish you and put you through loops and hoops and be hard and be frustrating and want to throw your phone at the wall. And I really much enjoy that content to some deep primordial level as well. And I am the type of player. I like to push myself, I like to challenge myself, and I like to get it done. But also at the same time, when it comes to these acts, I also want that content that's just enjoyable, that I can go and revisit, testing champions, have fun with it and stuff like that. And that definitely is not Act 7. Let's hope that definitely wasn't Act 6. Let's hope Act 7 is that.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a return to form. I think Act 7 is going to be a lot similar to Act 5, and any champion can take these paths.
Some do it better, some do it worse.
Yeah, it's just not going to be restrictive. Like I said, I felt towards the end of Act 6 they started, and when they made the changes to make Act 6 nerfed, quote unquote,
I think 6.4 overall was slightly better.
Yeah, I mean, 6.4 didn't feel as nasty. Even 6.3 didn't feel as nasty. 6.1 and 6.2.
No, for me, like 6.2 and 3 felt the nastiest. 6.3 possibly, I think, is the nastiest piece of content.
See, 6.3 to me, I think it's, if you have the right counters, it's not. However,
but again, it was very closed with the right counters, with the right boost kind of situation.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the thing, is it should never be that. And maybe that's why I have a better, I didn't do Act 6.3 when it first came out. I did it like, when did I do 6.3? I did that 6.3 December or January last year. So it'd been out for a little bit. It'd been out for a hot minute. And it was just one of those things that when I did it, I had watched a lot of other people do the streams. I was a part of one person's stream that was doing 6.3 initial run. So I was very familiar with what to do. And I can tell you by me having a max 5-star Aegon, that took a lot of the easy pass and a lot of the bosses, like no problem. Obviously, Medusa was one that was not, you had to bring like Sim Supreme, and that was pretty much the best choice most of the time. Which, I mean, granted, still kind of is. But, I mean, end of the day, it was a different kind of mean. But 6.4 felt like they started to get the message a little bit. But it wasn't fully got until they released the first beta for Act 7. And everyone said, what the hell are you doing? And that's when they had to go back to the drawing board. And that's like how you had mentioned, you know, Thronebreaker was probably not meant to be going for having all of Act 1 through 4 just completed and a rank 3 6-star. It was meant to be progressing based on, you know, we're probably midway through Act 7 right now, but they had to delay that because they fucked up so bad. I mean, that's the honest truth. But I'm glad they did it just bullhorn through it. They actually went back and said, we need to change
I'm also
things.
kind of glad. I do. Let's put it straight up, right? And I'm not the person that gives Kabam all the praises and stuff like that. I mean, like, I do give them praise when I think they deserve it, but I'm never shy to criticize them. But overall, and many of the things that they have done recently, they have definitely messed up. Many of the champions are underwhelming, some pieces of content have been boring and stuff like that. But overall, I do think we are in much, much, much better place right now than we used to be half a year ago or so. In terms of content that's being created, in terms of how they interact with us, in terms of quality of life improvements and stuff like that. And it's by far, like, not a finished job. There's still many things to revisit, to improve, to work on. But overall, I am much more optimistic right now, today, than I was before about this game.
Yeah. That's, wow. Yeah, I'm looking forward to what the future will bring. I think that we've seen a lot of positive things start happening, but we've seen a lot of dumb same mistakes with these champions and stuff coming through. So it's going to be a nice balance to see what happens. I will say, and I kind of mentioned this a second ago briefly, but they have done nothing but great things with the variant content after Variant 1. Variant 1 was a slugfest.
I actually,
after that,
I'll leave that. I like Variant 1.
You're a sadomasochistic person. That's why. Because you already said you like when content not only challenges you, but punishes you and makes you want to throw the phone against the wall sometimes. So you know what? You're in the minority here, buddy. I know you are. But all the variants have been really fun. Like, Variant 4, I explored it the first couple days it came out. Variant 5, same thing. Variant 3, I think I did it with the first couple weeks. Variant 2, I think I waited a little bit because of the burn that Variant 1 did. But like the last 3 variants I've explored within the first week of release, and the last 2 have been within the first couple days of 100%ed it. So that goes to show you where whoever's in charge of variants is doing the right things. They need to get them to get some insight on some of these acts, because they can make the acts a little bit better. And I know that variants are more of a content for in-game players, so to speak, or progressing players that are really pushing their limits. But that doesn't mean that Act 7 can't be similar, can't have a lot of the same fun mechanics.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what the rewards are going to be for Act 7 also. Because it, with Thronebreakers out there, it needs to be kind of beefy too. So we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. But I think that will also put an end to this. I want to keep it at about hour's length. I want it to be a rewatchable piece of kind of like interesting, relatively, extensive, but also moderate length conversation stream / video. So I think we're done here pretty much for the day. I will be doing an arena stream shortly after, so stay tuned. I think it's going to start in about half an hour from now or so.
Yeah, we'll be here. Pay 15 minutes. Let's say 15 minutes. Don't want to go too late for you. Give yourself 15 minutes.
Yeah, I know. But yeah.
Get an Alliance quest.
Yeah, I need to. So it's going to be starting soon. And huge thank you to all the members in the chat who did enjoy the stream. Huge thank you to all the members, period, because you're awesome. And huge thank you to Mandalorian for being the second part of this discussion.
I appreciate it. I'm really happy. I hope. Please give us your feedback, by the way, and let us know. Did you like it? What would you like to see changed? What would you like to see added? Did you love it the way it is? But a huge thank you to our YouTube members and our Patreons, because without you, we wouldn't be able to do these fun little streams and like back and forth to talk about this stuff. And I'm just honored to be along for the ride. And here's to getting KT to the next milestone in his career and just busting some MCOC out all the time.
I know that will do for now, and I'm gonna catch you guys next time. See ya.
Later, everyone.
Hello there, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information